Hello everyone, welcome to the SI UK India webinar. Thank you for joining us. We are now live with the University of Leeds. Today we have Dr. Mel and John with us. They will be taking us through this webinar. We'll answer all the questions after the presentation during the Q&A session. So let's start the webinar. Over to you, Mel.
Thanks so much, Shukti. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen and then we can get started. Okay, so hopefully you can see that okay. So welcome everybody. My name's Dr. Mel Evans and I'm the Director of Taught Postgraduate Programmes here at the School of English at the University of Leeds. And I wonder if I could just ask my colleagues to introduce themselves as well. So John, do you want to say who you are and why you're here?
I certainly do. Hi, everyone. My name's Professor John MacLeod. I'm a member of staff here in the School of English, and I'm also Director of International Activities.
And I wonder if I could ask our two students who are our current students at the university, who are going to be speaking about their experiences in a little bit. Ananya, could you say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. Good morning. I'm Ananya. I'm one of the student voices here at the webinar today. I am a master's student here at the School of English, University of Leeds, pursuing my MA in Post-Colonial Literary and Cultural Studies. Over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Ananya. Hello everyone. I'm Elizabeth Hassan and I'm a taught master's student at University of Leeds. I'm currently pursuing masters in English literature.
Thank you both very much, and thank you again to everyone to joining us today. So what we're going to talk to you about is the different master's programmes that we offer and how the teaching on those programmes, the learning, the provision, the support, all the kind of things you can expect about being a student in the School of English at PGT level. So we offer 4 master's degrees, which are available to take either full-time for 12 months or part-time for 24 months. So there are 4 programmes. 3 of them are what we call taught programmes: MA English Literature, MA Creative Writing, and MA Post-Colonial Studies. And there is also the option to do a Masters by Research, which is a kind of a more independent research project that takes up the space of a 12-month period, 12-month programme. And we'll say a lot more about each of these programmes in a moment, but they're the kind of programmes that we offer. So now I'm going to hand over to John, who's going to give you a little bit of sense about why you want to come and study here at Leeds.
Hi, everyone. So, Mel, do you want to shuttle into that first slide for me? Would that be okay? Okay, there are lots of reasons why we would love to bring you over to the School of English and ask you to join our academic community. One of the key reasons why Leeds is a great place to be would concerns our international reputation. We are a Russell Group and research intensive university. What do we mean by that? As you may well know, in the United Kingdom, the Russell Group is the equivalent of the American kind of Ivy League. It's a collection of 24 research-intensive universities in the country. So in coming to Leeds, you're coming to a kind of Premier League institution, one of the institutions that's very much at the top of the charts when it comes to UK institutions. More specifically, as it says there, the School of English, home to a range of expertise, including long-standing commitments in things like post-colonial literature, medical, digital, and environmental humanities. One of the great advantages of the School of English at Leeds is its size. We have quite a large number of staff members who cover pretty much the entire range of English studies, from Old English and medieval literature right through to literatures of the 21st century, the literatures of these islands in the United Kingdom, but also in several other Anglophone locations in the Americas and indeed around the world. We have great range. Whatever you're interested in, we do it. So there's a sense which you'd be joining a very busy, very vibrant academic community, which caters for and deals with the full scale of literatures in English. And that's reflected, thirdly, in the diverse group of academic staff we have here in the university. We have members of staff involved in teaching and research across all areas of our discipline: theatre studies, Old English, literature, language, you name it, we do it. And we have very good international links with institutions all over the world. in Asia, in Australasia, in the Americas and North America in particular. So in coming to Leeds, you'd be coming to an international institution and joining a very international form of English studies and an international academic community. But we're not just about the academic, of course, as well. Our pursuit and study of English here in Leeds is very worldly. We work closely with publishers, museums, national and international organizations to make sure there's a really good close proximity between the kinds of academic work we do, the kinds of scholarly questions we ask, and the real world relations and real world impacts that our students engage with, especially once they've left the university and gone on to fantastic things. Thank you very much. We also offer scholarships to support students while they're here. I mean, Mel is probably better placed than me to talk about these. But for example, we have the Bronte International Scholarship here, which offers a 10% partial fee waiver available to all eligible international students in the School of English. You know, it is one of our strategic goals to have a diverse international postgraduate and intellectual culture in the school. And we try what we can to stimulate that and to support students, to empower you to join us here in the city of Leeds.
Great, thank you very much, John. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a sense of kind of what the university is about and how the School of English is kind of how it's placed and how kind of the research informed teaching, the relationship between teaching and research that we have. So I was going to talk with you a little bit about the MA courses and then the specific programs that we offer. So the MA taught course structure, if you're doing it full time, it takes 12 months. So you start at the very end of September and you finish in the following September, the beginning of the following September. Now at Leeds, we have a 2-semester structure, which means you have teaching throughout the autumn. There's a break, so that's kind of, yes, from September through to December. You have a break over December and early January, and then the second semester, which we've all just started, begins at the end of January and continues through with a break around springtime till the beginning of May. And when you're studying on that 2-semester structure, you take a number of modules per semester. So all the different programs that we have different core modules or compulsory modules that you take. And then there's a whole swathe of options that very much align with the research interests and expertise of colleagues here in the school. And the capstone project, the culmination of our taught programs, is the research project. The chance to kind of do an independent investigation into a topic of your choosing that you work on, starting from around about the December of when you start, and you submit in the beginning of September. So you have kind of a 9-month kind of working on this alongside your other modules for part of it. So like I said, all our programs are also available part-time, which means you doing them over 24 months. So you would take fewer modules per semester, but you'd still have the same structure in terms of 2 semesters per year, and the research project at the end. So if you're interested in our MA English Literature, what does this course offer? What does it do? Well, it's a very wide ranging programme. It very much captures and reflects obviously traditional areas of interest into English literary studies, Anglophone literatures, but also responds to and reflects the kind of cutting edge work that we're doing here in the School of English. So if you have a particular interest in a certain literary period, whether that's Renaissance or Victorian, if you're interested in exploring literatures from around the world in Anglophone contexts and communities, that's available. There's modules engaging with work in that area. And if you're interested in more interdisciplinary approaches, we have modules that reflect those areas of interest too, such as environmental humanities, the relationship between romanticism and eco-criticism, medical humanities, disability research, and so on. And the kind of our aims and ambition with the MA is to allow students, perhaps if you have a particular interest, to develop that interest further, because we have a selection of modules you could choose from, but also to encourage students who simply know that they want to study English literature and they want to kind of see all there is to offer, and to have that kind of opportunity to try a little bit from this area and a little bit from that area, inputting your options together. And then, as I say, this all culminates together at the end in your independent research project, where you choose a topic, you choose your research questions, and you work with a staff member who supervises you through that independent research project, working with you to produce an independent dissertation at the end of the programme. So I think Elizabeth's going to say a little bit more later on about kind of studying on this programme in particular. So I won't say any more to it about now. Actually, I will. Just to give you a sense of some of the examples of the options, I forgot the slide was there. So yes, in terms of the compulsory module, we've got the writing, places and identity, which is the one that we ask all our students to do. We have a Yorkshire focus. So we focus on works from Yorkshire, so the county in which Leeds is situated, spanning back from Cadmon's Hymn, one of the earliest works in English, through to very recent contemporary works, such as work by the playwright Alan Bennett, and everything that goes in between. And that is a chance to kind of develop your skills, but also get a sense of the relevance of place in literary works, and in this case, particularly the role of Yorkshire and how that informs kind of both practices, creative choices, and so on in different works and different periods. In terms of the options that I mentioned, they're very much informed by our areas of research expertise, and I think you can see from the titles listed on the slide just the kind of diversity that we offer, and we really do champion kind of getting colleagues involved in teaching MA things that are beneficial for us as researchers, working with students on developing our own ideas by working with you in the classroom on them. And I know from my experience of teaching on the digital and English studies, for example, that's been very much a positive experience for me. So we do kind of have this kind of collaborative approach to developing our option modules. So that's enough about the MA English Literature. I'm going to hand over to John to talk a little bit with you about the programmes in MA Creative Writing and MA Postcolonial Studies.
Okay, as you may well know, creative writing is a real exciting kind of boon area of MA studies, particularly here in the UK. I'm delighted to say that the University of Leeds is very much at the kind of at the vanguard and cutting edge, not least with our MA in creative writing. It's been one of our most kind of popular and successful programs that's emerged in the school in recent years. And as that slide tells us, the program is there to do several things. It's there to develop creative writing whilst advancing your critical skills and knowledge of English studies. You'll engage with a wide variety of genres. As a critical reader and writer, we have staff teaching on that program that are going to take us into the discipline and the challenge of thinking with and through genre, not just the more generalized genres of the novel or the play or the poem, but the particular kinds of subgenres that impact within those forms of literary productivity themselves. We also open a space, and secondly, to think about, in a theoretical manner, what it is we do when we write and think creatively, and what might be that relationship between creative writing and critical thinking. As my MA students have heard me say before, and will hear me say several times this year, no doubt, writing is itself a form of thinking, and a form of thinking which only really happens when one engages on the page. So we like to think about creativity in concert with the critical, rather than as discrete from the critical. The way in which we engage with this at MA level is through a variety of teaching means, not least in participatory workshops, where you're going to work with other fledgling creative writers. And of course, on the staff side, you'll be working with some highly distinguished and prestigious writers with a great track record of creativity themselves, from the prize-winning poet Zafar Kunial to our poet laureate here in the United Kingdom, the distinguished writer Simon Armitage. We have several distinguished creative writers who engage with students, and drawing upon their knowledge, of course, is an absolutely unique opportunity. There is, of course, the capacity and the emphasis on producing an independent research project, and the programme is there to stimulate your own journey as writers, your own discoveries, the growth of your own artistry and expertise and experience in a creative kind of context. And because you're working with professional writers as well as professional academics, you'll find that you'll be able to access information, advice, contacts and context to do with, if you like, the institutions of creative writing, getting an agent, getting published, engaging with opportunities for bringing your creative writing out into the world, either on the page or online. So it's a really exciting and also very popular MA program that we're delighted to have developed in the school in recent years. Just to give a bit more detail, again, there is both a compulsory and an optional element to all of our MA programs. Here on the creative writing program, you can see on the screen there are compulsory modules to take, as well as option modules. And those modules may be taken from the School of English, but you can also select a range of modules from our partner school, the School of Performance and Creative Industries, which is also a part of the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Cultures here at the University of Leeds. And that should remind us all of the kind of wonderful kind of intellectual interdisciplinary character of our MA creative writing. You get to work with writers, fellow students, with creative figures and practitioners from a real wide range and wide variety of the field. And again, that reality underwrites that commitment that both Mel and I have been talking about, that commitment to range, literary range, intellectual range, which is very much the hallmark of what we do here in the School of English. And as with the other programs, there is a research component element. Okay, and on to the third of these talk programs, a program that's very close to my heart because I'm the director of this program as well, because I'm a post-colonial literature scholar, the MA in Post-Colonial Studies. One thing to say about this program is it's absolutely brand new, and it's one of the oldest programs in the School of English. We're very proud at the University of Leeds that we have pioneered the study of what used to be called Commonwealth literatures. Since the 1960s, we offered our first MA in Commonwealth Literary Studies in the mid-1960s. It's a program which, if you can believe it, is older, just about older than me. And as the field of post-colonial studies has developed over several decades, and as Leeds has built a reputation in this field, the program has gone through a number of iterations, Commonwealth and post-colonial, and it's currently called, Ananya mentioned it earlier, the MA in Post-Colonial Literary and Cultural Studies. But next year, it's having a bit of a spring clean, a bit of a refresh, and it's being retitled as the MA in Post-Colonial Studies, although much of what we've built and done on this program over several decades will be sustained. So it's a program where you're going to gain an in-depth knowledge in literature, film, in a number of kind of cultural contexts, with some key quintessential post-colonial concerns. Not least, you're going to be thinking about and engaging with the richness of Anglophone post-colonial cultures from the full stretch of the globe, the social and historical contexts, the issues that they raise. We'll be thinking about post-colonial societies and cultures, but also post-colonial concepts, the discipline of post-colonial studies, and the ways in which post-colonial studies these days, especially in the literary context, is often in conversation and dialogue with a number of other intellectual concerns and disciplines like kinship studies, environmentalism, the digital humanities, notions and studies of indigeneity, etc. So what is the MA in Post-Colonial Studies? It's an opportunity to explore Anglophone cultures and societies from around the world, and to think about their cultural productivity and the fantastic texts and literatures and cultural endeavours that have been stimulated by writers in these regions. In terms of its design, in semester one, you would pursue a compulsory module called Post-Colonial Encounters that takes you into the discipline of post-colonial studies and gets us to engage with some of the key debates in and ideas in the field. And then you select a range of option modules as well on that program. We've got some well-established modules students are already taking this year, Planetary Aesthetics, Africas of the Mind, but we've got some brand new modules starting next year, which we hope will attract lots of people. I'll be teaching a module called Imagining Multicultural Britain. We've got modules on the relationship between language and empire, a new module by my colleague Dan O'Gorman on global literature and terror. And you can mix and match these post-colonial specific modules with some of the many other modules that Mel was mentioning earlier, and the general MA English program. So if you want to do a bit of post-colonial but also study the Brontes or study Shakespeare, that's absolutely fine. You can compile the MA to fit your intellectual interests and literary passions. And as with all MA programs, there is the research project module in semester 2 in the summer, where you get to choose and work on a project in post-colonial studies that particularly excites and interests you as a scholar. So it all sounds very exciting, and that's because it is very exciting. And we're all really looking forward to the refreshed MA post-colonial studies beginning next year. And one last thing I'll say before I pass the mic back to Mel is if you are interested in going further down the line and pursuing post-colonial work at doctoral level or even kind of more professionally, I'm very pleased to say that the MA in Post-Colonial Studies has a fantastic reputation in producing the next generation of academic scholars and writers. When I was on the train coming into Leeds this morning, I jotted down, just within 15 minutes, 10 internationally renowned post-colonial scholars worldwide who have done our MA. So it is an MA with a great pedigree and reputation, and our students have gone on to do the most fantastic things. Thank you for listening.
Great, thanks, John. Should also mention as well that if you do the MA English Literature, there is often the option to do some of these specialist post-colonial modules, not all of them, but some of them. So it depends kind of where your emphasis, where your passion lies, and that's kind of what we encourage on our talk programs. Follow what you're interested in, develop and work on that. The MA Masters by Research, just briefly, is just to explain, it's a little bit different to the talk programs that we offer, but it's still a really valuable and can be very individual and very innovative way of pursuing something at postgraduate level. So for the Masters by Research, you choose a topic, just as you would do for doing the kind of the talk in the talk programs where you do a research project at the end, except you do your independent research project throughout the year. It is the main focus of your masters. So the idea is that you come up with a topic and you contact members of staff in the school. I'm happy for people to contact me so I can pass queries on, for example, to find someone who you'd be able to work with as a supervisor partnership to give you support whilst you undertook this research. So you come to Leeds, you're a part of the student community. You have the option of auditing some of the modules that are available at master's level, but you're working individually to produce a piece of research. And Masters by Research does require a little bit more autonomy. It does require a little bit more kind of research commitment from the start. But the outcomes are often very, very impressive. You can see from the slides some of the topics from recent years. I had the privilege of examining the first one, Womanhood and Authenticity in Hip Hop, which was kind of a diachronic study of different hip hop artists and the representation of womanhood and femininity. And it was great. It was really, really interesting. So again, if it's something that kind of you're interested in, maybe in a language topic, in a theatre studies topic, in a creative writing or literary topic that you already kind of know what it is you want to explore, and you really want to climb into it and really investigate it, perhaps as a warm up for a kind of a PhD project, then Masters by Research is something that you might want to consider. In terms of how you study at the MA, if you're on our talk programs, then you'll be part of seminar groups, lectures, learning groups, and obviously independent study, because the step up from doing a BA to an MA to a master's is that level of autonomy and independence that goes into learning about your subject area, becoming a specialist in your area of interest. But we also encourage seminars where small group teaching, where people come together to talk about kind of some set questions, texts that you've read, articles and critical work that you've studied, that then over the course of normally a 2-hour seminar, you kind of explore and discuss and debate with fellow students, with your tutor, to kind of develop your understanding and identify the questions and the issues and the potential answers around that area. We have a virtual learning environment to provide learning materials online, and it's also how you submit your assessments normally by uploading them onto the VLE. And in terms of assessments, obviously we would have what you might see as a kind of quite standard essay. So normally a 3,000 or 4,000 word essay at MA level. But we also encourage students to develop their skills in producing and showing off their knowledge and understanding through things such as presentations, group work. We've had some digital editing projects, scholarly editing, writing blog posts, and doing research and independent research projects as well. So we encourage you to kind of develop skills in lots of different ways, and we assess your understanding through lots of different mechanisms as well. You'll notice that exams are not named on that list, and that's because at the moment, I don't think anything that we offer in the School of English is assessed at MA level by an exam. In terms of academic support, we appreciate that people coming to study at Leeds are coming from very different backgrounds, very different levels of experience, areas of interest. And so we have a strong structure in place to support students in and around your kind of weekly classes for your different modules. So every student has an academic personal tutor. So this is a member of staff in the school who you meet with at least once a semester. Often it's more than that, who you can go to when you have queries about your academic work, your academic progress, maybe questions about signing up for scholarships or internships. And they're there as a kind of point of contact in addition to the tutors that you work with on your actual core and option modules. So additional member of staff, additional person to speak to when you have queries. We also have our academic development training team who provide support on working and writing and communicating in an academic environment specific to literary studies. And it also includes the opportunity to try out kind of seminars and learn how to get the most out of the seminar format, which for some of our students is quite a new experience when arriving at Leeds. And we also try and encourage a sense of community. So we have a lot of field trips and activities that are in place. So in semester 1 this year, we went to a local art gallery and art gallery exhibition. We also went off to Haworth, which is the home of the Brontes. I had a tour around there. It's quite an infamous annual field trip, which is great fun. And we also have our MA student conference, which is where students get together to organise a conference and then present their work in progress in relation to their research projects. And this is a really positive experience normally for all the students involved, because you get feedback on your work, you get to see what everybody else is doing, and your tutors and supervisors can come along and watch as well. So we really try and build a kind of proper research community, a student community for you here in the School of English at Leeds. In terms of our facilities and resources, what can you expect? We have some fantastic libraries and library holdings at Leeds. I only joined Leeds about 2.5 years ago now, and I was so excited when I realised kind of what the Brotherton Library had in its collections, and I haven't even scratched the surface. We've got fantastic archives and materials linked to literature and culture and history, including some very extensive poetry archives and some very new and, well, they're not new and shiny because they're old, but new and kind of very welcome materials that have been added to the Bronte collection as well. And we've also got some of the facilities in the school. There's also a large workshop theatre that's used for some events as well, and just generally kind of lots of resources that will make kind of studying here a kind of enjoyable experience across the university as a whole. So to kind of start to kind of move on to talking about the kind of practicalities and getting our students to talk about their experiences, just to give a sense of what some of our students have gone on to do and kind of what's motivated them to do the VMAs that we offer. Generally speaking, a master's course obviously allows you to develop your subject knowledge, but it also helps you to kind of develop skills that are very, very transferable. So they're very, very applicable, and employers recognise these transferable independent skills, such as working independently, doing research, presenting and communicating findings to others, developing a kind of critical awareness, critical thinking, decision making, and so on. All the things that you have to do if you're studying English in various spheres, doing creative writing. And Leeds is one of the top 10 targeted universities in the UK by graduate recruiters. So people recognise the kind of calibre of students that go through the Leeds programmes. In terms of graduate destinations, there's no kind of one area that our students go into, and we see that as being a strength. That's a good thing. So students are able to use the skills that they develop on the MA to go into a whole host of areas and disciplines. Teaching is a popular area, education, but so is heritage industry, journalism, civil service, and creative writing as well. So all these kind of areas of places that our graduates have gone on to do, as well as many of our students are inspired by their kind of MA work and go on to pursue a PhD as well, which is fantastic. Many of which do stay with us to do their PhD, which is always as a tutor, it's really nice to see the kind of the progression that students make, see the ideas flourish and go on to become a researcher. here are some of our alumni who've done various programs in the School of English, and you can kind of see the different areas that they go into. And this is, only a very small sample of the very diverse areas that our students have gone on into. In terms of career support, we recognise that doing an MA is a big decision, and you want to make sure you're kind of making sensible decisions for what happens after that. And so we have an award-winning career centre at the university who can provide you with that kind of support and input into developing applications, finding job opportunities, internships, and so on. And so we encourage our students to basically start having a conversation with them almost as soon as they get here. Because one thing about an MA is that it goes very, very quickly because you're very busy doing a lot of things in quite a short period of time. So the Career Centre is there to provide that kind of support and help you to plan ahead for what might come next. Okay, so I'm now going to invite our MA students just to say a little bit for kind of the final 10 minutes or so about their experiences. So I think, Elizabeth, are you able to speak to this and a bit of sense about your experiences of studying, what you've enjoyed about studying English at Leeds?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mel. So I'm Elizabeth and I'm studying Masters in English Literature. And for semester 1, I was really, my personal reason for choosing Leeds was the vast choices that I was offered in terms of modules and to select something of my own interest. And the interdisciplinary approach to literature was something that I was really eager to explore. And there was a module that Leeds offered to me that struck up my interest, and it was the English and Digital Studies module that I took for semester 1. And it has been such a nice experience, honestly, to study this module, as Mel also was there for as our tutor for the course, and it was really a positive experience. One thing that I really benefited from the module was that it was designed in such a way that it did not expect any prior knowledge of digital skills from us, which is really handy because I personally am not really good with computer skills. So, and I was really apprehensive getting into the module, but there was no such as such things, and our tutors like kind of really helped us to build the skills we needed like from the scratch, while giving us enough space and time to explore things we wanted to do on our own. And thus the curriculum was flexible, but at the same time also very rigorous, which I really loved. And the assessment particularly, it was kind of nice because we got the option of doing a traditional kind of assessment, which is an essay or something which is more modern, like a digital file or something that I created once. I did it for my assessment, and it was it was it was a good experience and really helpful because I personally was not okay with the traditional essay because I that was not my interest. So the module offered me a venue to explore my interest and complete an assessment at the same time, which I found was really, really helpful.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. That's really, really helpful. I'll come back to you in a moment with some other kind of more general questions, if that's okay. Ananya, are you able to kind of say a little bit about your experience at Leeds and just shout when you want me to change?
Sure. I had a great time learning a lot about word literature and um, Commonwealth literature and post-colonial literature. They are kind of clubbed together, but when I took class with Sam, Brendan, I'm taking it with John as well as Graham and Claire. So there are all these modules, they started making sense to me how post-coloniality, it's so different from all the other terminologies that are clubbed with it together. And coming from India, I, I didn't have much of an opportunity to explore post-coloniality, although I come from India, a post-colonial country. So the opportunity that Leeds gave to me, the School of English gave to me, is a lot. And and I'm still learning and still enjoying. And apart from the modules, I'd say that the way that students are allowed to pick modules is something, I don't think any other university does that, because you are not restricted to not only this. I mean, you're not restricted in any way. I mean, the students can pick modules from the School of English, from different other courses like creative writing as well as MA English. As I'm doing post-colonial literature, I could have chosen from other courses as well. Similarly, discovery modules are also on offer, so students can go for discovery modules as their optional modules, and so you are not restricted in any way, and you can just create a platter that suits your palate. And I mean, as an applicant, from when I applied, I think it is very essential that students apply well ahead of time, because it will give you a bit of a sense of what the school has to offer in terms of the courses and the modules. And also, the staff, they're always eager to help you. They're always there to help you out. So they would never quite reject your application if you're deserving. So there are ways that they're always there to provide you the helping hand. And I'm speaking from my experience. So try applying well ahead of time, and try to get a bit of taste and a sense of what the modules are all about, and what the reading lists, try to get a look at those now, what the secondary or the primary texts are also about, so that you are well ahead of time. You're also prepared to jump into the course whenever, when September strikes, when you have your induction and then you have your classes. And apart from the academics, I think our professors are amazing too. I still remember John. He started sending us mails on our day of induction, that he was looking forward to meeting us. And I also remember Mel, even before I'd been I mean, accepted to the university. She didn't. I wasn't even accepted back then, but still, she was. I still remember asking questions from my personal mail, and she was there to help me out, understanding what the school offers and how this they're always there, and what the modules are all about. So. Please feel free to always ask questions, because our professors are always there to answer to your queries. And apart from that, yes, academic personal tutor that Mel mentioned is something that kind of help, support, apart from your academics, is something. I mean, it kind of acts like a primary support. So is something I mean, I feel like every student that's provided with academic personal tutor, everybody is provided with one. So you should always try to strike conversation. I mean, try to establish a connection from the very first day, because they're always eager, looking forward to meeting with you. So don't waste that opportunity. I don't think everybody is able to get that kind of opportunity. And also during your assessments or before that, the professors are always there to provide helping you with evaluation. I mean, what they're looking forward to, what in terms of assessment. So um, don't I mean, please don't be frightened or scared of contacting. So I mean, it's very different from the kind of background that I come from. And we also talked about the same thing when we had MA focus group conversation with Mel, that it's so very different how the school always um, is always so forward and so direct about knowing their own students. It's like it's as if the school is a big family and not different. It's not a detached component or element at all. So yeah, that's from my side
Thanks so
for
much.
now.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, I have a question for you that I think maybe some of our people viewing today might be interested in. Would you be able to say a little bit about what it's like kind of living in Leeds, and in particular the kind of accommodation and the areas that students live, and what it's like to kind of, you know, be a student living near campus and that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mel. Well, Leeds is a very multicultural city. You meet people from all types of backgrounds and races, and it's really great because that's such a vibrant culture here in the city, which I think students can really benefit from. And it's well, I live particularly in a student accommodation, a university student accommodation, and all of universities' accommodations are very nearby to the campus, and some of them are even on the campus. And you have everything you need really close by. Um, Supermarkets, shops, and the Leeds city center is also very, very near to the school, like a 10-minute walk. So you have all your important lifelines very close by. You can access to them, which as a student was really helpful to me. And Leeds, personally for me, Leeds is a very walkable city. So every day, a component of my everyday life is walking to and fro to a lot of places, and that really helps. And and even if you're not a big fan of walking, there is good transport and it's pretty cheap as well, which I think is one of the key factors that students look. If you're budgeting pretty well, you should have a great time in Leeds, honestly.
Brilliant. Thanks, Elizabeth. And Annie, is there anything you'd like to add to that in your experiences of living here? And
Yeah, I think just as I said, I mean, application for accommodation too, I think students should keep it in mind that they should apply early because seats fill up quite fast because there's so many international students coming from abroad, so it should be kept in mind. And yeah, that's just as how Elizabeth said that if you're budgeting properly, then you wouldn't have any problem. And I mean, there is I mean, the suggestion that I'd give to students is that the moment you land in Leeds, I'd say download all the important apps like get Tesco Club Card or even Morrison's Savers and Sainsbury Nectar Card. Get all those things because it comes in handy and they're always advertising when they have discounts and all. So try to be always in the know of what is happening in and around. And apart from that, yeah, there is I mean pretty much affordable transport system. The bus is there, so you can get the first bus app as well. It helps a lot. And apart from that, I think if you can walk, it's the best option. It will save you a lot of money. And something that I quite forgot when I was mentioning about my um, experience, I think students should also try to go, I mean, explore a bit beyond academia. There are lots of clubs and societies at the LUU. So, like 300 clubs and societies, you can always join one of them or more than one of the societies because it kind of helps in refreshing I mean, having a breath of fresh air beyond your books and pens. And apart from that, in academia too, we have got a very successfully well-running post-colonial research group as well. I mean, because I'm a post-colonial literature student, that's why I'm mentioning it. So there are other research centers and groups as well. So do look forward to joining them. Be in touch with the professors who are in charge of the groups. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
yeah, no, I mean, as someone who I don't live in Leeds and I travel in, I walk up from the train station to the campus every day and all the way back, and it's actually I've been doing it for 2.5 years now, and it's such an enjoyable walk going through the city centre and up the moderate hill. It's not steep, it's a moderate hill, but it's very, very walkable. It's lovely. Okay, so having said all that and given you a wealth of information, the final kind of perhaps most important bit perhaps is how to apply. So in terms of entry requirements, what we look for is a 1st or 2-1 degree in English or a closely related subject, and obviously the equivalent of a 1st or a 2-1, depending on your background. And we do consider students applying from very different backgrounds as well, from very different kind of degree programs at BA, because we do recognise that people decide to study an MA for very different reasons, and if you have the skills and the aptitude, then we will always consider your application. Full details about kind of what is required are available on our course pages, and obviously do contact us on the email address as well. And if you actually want to apply, the process is an online process. So you go to the AHC website, English Masters, and click on the big and shiny apply button. And what we look for from applicants is a transcript of your BA program and certificate if you've already graduated, or just the transcript if you're still studying, so we can kind of see how you've been doing and what you've been studying in modules and how you did on the different modules you've taken. We also ask for a personal statement, and this is really important because this is our chance to get to know you as a student, to understand what's motivating you, to understand what you studied previously, and why you're kind of passionate about studying English literature, creative writing, or post-colonial studies. If relevant, you need to provide your English proficiency test scores. Offers can be made if these are kind of to be conditional, so on, depending on the scores provided. And if you are doing an MA in creative writing, there is a compulsory requirement for a sample of creative work, so that our colleagues here in creative writing can check that you are have the kind of right level of experience, and that your sense of what the creative practice that you're aiming to undertake as part of an MA does line up with the specialisms and experience and expertise with colleagues in the school. For some of our applicants to the other programmes, particularly those who maybe haven't done a BA in English, but maybe have come from, let's say, marketing, as an application I read the other day, or business, then we might also ask for a writing sample from them as well, just to get a sense of how you write and your understanding of kind of working in a kind of literary critical studies kind of space. Okay. So that is everything I think that we had to say. Quite a lot of information we appreciate. So I'll put it on the contact information slide, and I think Yukti, you're going to guide us through any questions that we've received.
Yes, thank you so much for taking out the time and giving us this insightful presentation. Now time for Q&A session. I will call out all the questions from the YouTube chat box. So the first question is, what do you think are the pros and cons, if there are any, about getting a master's degree in the UK for international students?
I don't know whether John or Elizabeth or Ananya even, if you'd like to speak to this one, because it's kind of, you're here studying and you chose to come to the UK to do a master's, and if you have any thoughts on that.
Can I go forward with it? Yeah, so I think there is a lot of exposure first, which obviously you are quite hinted. I mean, it isn't there when it I mean, coming from India, I don't think I didn't get that kind of exposure. And apart from that, there are professors teaching from all the different corners of the world. So they will be bringing in their own experiences, and you'll be learning under them. And you will also be in a classroom where people all across the world, and or everybody will be, I mean, the diversity is amazing, and something I believe is an opportunity for me and for every international student that's there, that we're studying at the School of English, and every other school, I believe. And and also Leeds is also a Russell Group University, and it is ranked. It has consecutively and successively, it's always been ranked as one of the most um, um, you know, prospective universities employers are always looking forward to. And the research, it's also research extensive, and if you're looking forward to doing a research-based degree after your master's, I believe you should always give it a go. So that's it.
Thanks, Ananya. Thank you. Elizabeth, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, I agree with Ananya so much, and like I cannot stress enough that the diversity of the classroom really makes the learning process really, really more enjoyable, and you get to learn so much more than you can. So it's the exposure, as she said, exposure is, and not only like in the classroom, even like outside, because Leeds is such a multicultural city with so many things to do. And honestly, studying here is one of the most enjoyable things I have ever done, even though it was stressful, but it's really, really enjoyable. And I really cannot think of any cons because it has been such a great and good journey so far.
John, is there anything you'd like to add from your Director of International perspective?
Well, I think a couple of things. I would just while we're thinking about diversity, I'd really want to echo that as someone who's taught here since 1996. I'm nearly 30 years at the University of Leeds, so I've seen a few changes over the years, and I have a good sense of the institution. I think we can think about the significance of the institution's, well, certainly the place's diversity in at least three ways. There's the diversity, as we've talked about, of staff. There is the diversity of the postgraduate student body, which I think is really really important, that we welcome people from all over the world, and we see that as part of our core business. Not least because, and thirdly, the business of studying literature, let's just take that for the moment, is at heart international. Even the most seemingly English of all English texts is worldly and has got something to do with the world. English, of course, is a world language. So we have diversity in the classroom, both in terms of the staff and our fantastic students, but also with the primary materials that we are dealing with. If a literary text opens a door to a different way of thinking about the world, imagine what that does to you to study so many of them in an intense manner, in an advanced mode, in a high quality university. The universe will be expanding on a daily basis as a consequence of this. So I think that having the opportunity to engage at such a high level with such a fantastic group of people who support each other and learn from each other is, for me, one of the great joys as well as advantages of the study of English.
Great, thanks very much, John.
So the next question is, how big is the Indian community at Leeds?
Bigger than you can even imagine.
I was pretty surprised myself. It's really huge, and it's a really well-knit community. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I mean, I think that's absolutely true on campus. And in terms of the study of South Asian Anglophone literatures, of course, is something we've been doing here for a very long time indeed. But it's worth remembering that the city of Leeds, if not the wider West Yorkshire region, has been a significant site of South Asian migration for decades, going well back into the earlier 20th century. And we have diverse communities here of many people that might trace ancestral connections to India and other parts of South Asia in the city of Leeds, in the city of Bradford, which is just a couple of miles up the road. And in Yorkshire, we're very proud of that. That's part of our identity as a region and as a part of the United Kingdom. We have lots of, other British folk who will come into West Yorkshire almost as semi-tourists to engage with the distinctive South Asian personality of West Yorkshire. So when Ananya says, well, it's bigger than you can possibly imagine, she's not kidding. So yeah, you're coming to a place which I think will be, at one level, wonderfully new and fresh and exciting and dynamic, but also maybe a little bit familiar in terms of the voices, the languages, the opportunities, the cultural particulars of this, this wonderful part of the United Kingdom up here in West Yorkshire.
So next question is, can you please tell me the deadline for September 2024 intake? Also, if there is any scholarship available.
Okay, so there is no specific deadline for applying for the MA programmes. Obviously, we want you to apply before the programmes start at the end of September, but obviously work back from that in expectation of visas and just getting your life organised and that kind of thing. We generally encourage people to apply by June. That normally gives just about the right amount of time. Elizabeth and Ananya, what time of year did you apply? Because I know it does differ. I think it differs for both of you.
Yeah, I applied in January.
I applied in December. I was super early for some reason.
Two very organised people here. But yeah, we do accept applications. Probably the bulk of them are coming in about now. But people there's no hard and fast deadline. In terms of the scholarships, for the Bronte scholarships, they are, if you are eligible, they are automatically part of that. We recognise that if you are a strong candidate that we want you on our programme, then you will be eligible, meeting other criteria as well. You are eligible for that international scholarship, so you get that 10% fee reduction. There are other scholarships available too. Some of the deadlines for which have actually just passed. You kind of have to be aware of those to start, but it's worth having a look on the English Masters page to see what else might be available that you might be eligible for as well. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
What career option we would have after completing Masters in English?
So, as I said before, on the kind of employability slides, our graduates go into a lot of different areas in terms of education, heritage, marketing, social media, human relations, all those there's a lot of different areas and applications. But I don't know, again, if Ananya and Elizabeth, what are you thinking of doing next, and where do you feel that it's taking you into doing this MA?
Okay.
I'm thinking about going for a PhD next.
And Elizabeth, what about yourself?
Yeah, I do think I have strongly identified a few research interests, so maybe I would be going into research as well.
Yeah, so it's very much one trajectory travel. And obviously, even if that doesn't work out, simply having that master's qualification will make people stand out. It gives you that sense of skills and credentials that people recognise from very different areas. And the other thing as well is that we do encourage students to work with the career service to find opportunities. So I know some students are doing exploring potentially doing internships through the university, so they get experience of working, for example, in marketing and social media, these things, to get you that extra skills that sit alongside the expertise you developed on the MA programme, to then make you stand out when you're applying for those postgraduate jobs and employment.
Indeed, just to add a voice here as well. I mean, sometimes people often ask, well, what can you do with an arts degree? The question or the answer to that, or another way of phrasing the question, is what can't you do with an arts degree, given that range of careers that our undergraduates and postgraduates have moved into, everything from journalism to education, working for NGOs, the law, going into business, into the private sector. The range is quite something. And of course, when one goes for a career, one is trying to get a foothold in any career, you're going to be competing with other people, many of whom will have, good BA degrees, but not that many will have MA degrees. And especially MA degrees, especially from a Russell Group institution and from a school of English with an international reputation like ours, of which many employers, of course, are aware. So there's something advantageous about pursuing the degree in terms of employability and careers to begin with. You're already going to stand out from the crowd by the very nature of having demonstrated that you can do it at a high level. And you've got the proactive skills, you've got the imagination, you've got the motivation to pursue high level, high quality work and be successful at it. So there's not much you can't do, if I can put it that way.
How do you select applicants? What aspect do you look for in an application?
So in terms of how we select applicants, we look for, as I said, the relevant BA experience, so that you've achieved a certain level of academic, you can show a certain level of academic aptitude by getting a 2-1 or a first or their equivalent GPA. But also we look at the modules that have been taken, and in particular, not necessarily that all of them are, let's say, modules in English literature, but you can see that when you've taken a module in English literature, you do well in it. Yeah, that there's a even if other things not necessarily quite so positive, if you can show that aptitude and skill, that tells us, okay, there's something here. This person is engaged with this topic, and that they're interested and that they're skillful at it at the moment. And then in the personal statement, we're looking for a sense of why you want to pursue the programme that you've picked, why you feel that Leeds is going to be the right place for you to study, and kind of what's motivating you? Where do you want to go with it? What have you done before that means you're prepared to do the program, and where do you see it taking you in the future? Because obviously what we don't want to do is to have you on the program and it not be the right one for you. You know, it's not just about kind of making sure that you're right for Leeds. We want to make sure that Leeds is right for you as well. So we kind of look at the personal statement, and we look at the kind of previous experience just to check that all matches up. And then, as I said, on some of the programs on creative writing, it's about the creative writing sample to check that you have the skills and the aptitude as a creative writer, that there's that germ of potential there that our colleagues feel that can be developed through creative practice. And similarly, if needed, that writing sample for the other programs as well.
How much minimum attendance do we need to maintain at Leeds?
So minimum attendance is you need to attend all your timetabled classes. So this is usually you normally have around about 2 or 3 hours contact time per module per week, and at the MA level you would take 2 modules per semester. So you're looking at kind of four to five, depending on how the schedule of the module and the level of learning groups and activities as well, that will be running for say the core modules. That could be kind of 4 to 6 hours per week, kind of expected attendance. And you are required to attend those seminars. They are timetabled sessions. They're part of your learning kind of contract and commitment to your course with the School of English and with the university. And even if that doesn't sound like a lot in some ways, the amount of work that kind of goes around that, and kind of obviously the extracurricular activities that Ananya's mentioned as well, that's kind of all in addition to kind of get the most out of the studies. But that's the kind of the minimum expected.
Okay, so I've covered all the questions from the YouTube chat box. Thank you for answering all the questions so well. Do you want to share any final words?
Just to stress, I think in some ways what Ananya was saying about kind of, don't feel shy if you have questions. If there are things that you think of after watching this, or you've had a chat, you're going to have a chat with your family, or some of your tutors or whatever, do get in touch with us. We're always really happy to speak to people so that you can make an informed decision about your application and what program would be right for you. And obviously, if you do apply and you get accepted, kind of the bit that comes after that, which is the exciting bit. So yeah, just reach out, get in touch. We're always very happy to help.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your valuable time. All the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact the SI UK India office. For more update, do follow us on our social media handles. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, everyone.